Share what we've got, 'cause we've all got a lot of things to share.
Today we have a special guest. Deborah Woosley and her husband Jerry are invaluable to our ministry and are a blessing to us. And Deborah is legendary for her cinnamon rolls. In fact, in Denver City, Texas, where they live, they auction off her rolls for fundraising events. So today she's going to share her secret with us.
Well, and it's actually not my secret. I can't take the credit. There is a lady in Denver City. Her name is Mola Moorhead. She's no longer alive, but this is her starter from at least 60 years ago. And it has circulated Denver City for all those years. There's lots of ladies in Denver City that has it. And so I was one of the lucky ones that was the recipient, and we just kind of kept it going with my grandkids and our family.
How did you get it?
Well, actually, we did something for one of the ladies, and at the tire store, we fixed some tires or did something, and she was just one of those sweet little ladies, and so she brought by 2 big loaves of bread for our guys, and it was delicious. So I asked her, could I possibly get that recipe? Yeah, and so she had me come to her house, and she gave me the recipe and the instructions and the starter.
60 years.
Yes. The starter is the main ingredient is potato flakes. The original starter has yeast in it, some oil, some water, butter, those things, but then it has to marinate. So once you get it going, then you can just keep that starter going and by putting it in the refrigerator. The thing that's good about this starter is you don't have to feed it. A lot of starters for sourdough bread or other bread, you have to every day, you have to go feed it or you have to stir it. This one I've left it 6 weeks in the refrigerator before and not done anything to it and taken it out and made bread out of it.
Oh, that's great.
So I love that part of it because it's not high maintenance. So this is what the starter looks like when you take it out of the refrigerator. And the thing about putting it in the refrigerator, you have to make sure you don't seal it tightly, because if you do, whatever chemical reaction it has, the gases and stuff will actually pop the lid off.
Wow.
So you just have to make sure you don't screw it on completely and super tight. So, but it looks really gross and it doesn't smell very good when you, yeah, it's not a great smelling, it's pretty sour. My grandkids think it's really sour until it's baking in the oven. Okay, so we're gonna make a starter, and what will happen is, I've got one over here, but what will happen is you're basically doubling it. So you let that starter set for 8 hours, and then you can take it and split it in 2, put 1 cup back in the refrigerator, so you'll always have a starter going, and then use the other cup to make your bread or cinnamon rolls or whatever it is that you want to make. Okay, for the ingredients you need 1/2 cup of sugar, and it's just regular granulated sugar. You need 3 tablespoons, and I make heaping tablespoons, and I don't really measure that great. I just get them out of the box. And it's 3 heaping tablespoons. I think Jerry's already measured this out for me. It's okay if you get a little bit extra, it just makes it a little better. It's okay. I'm just gonna put all that in there. Okay, and then you have to have a cup of hot water, not boiling water, but just hot water. And you pour that in, mix that up good. Just stirring it. And then you take your starter that you've had in the refrigerator and you just pour it in there. And as you can see, the potato flakes are kind of all at the bottom, but that's all the good stuff. So you just get all of it you can out. Now the recipe that I have says that you're supposed to stir this every hour or so. I don't ever stir mine. It's really a very low maintenance starter. It really is.
So you get rid of all your starter, or you save some for later?
This is going to make 2 cups of starter.
So
when I get through with this is supposed to sit for at least 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
I've let it set for 16 hours. If I made it that morning, put it on, and I had something going on and I couldn't get it made, I just went ahead and left it, and I made it the next day. It's never seemed to affect it one way or the other. So,
Okay.
So this is just we're gonna have it to where it will set for 8 hours. And this is one that has actually set for 8 hours. Okay, now when you stir your starter, if you do come along and stir it during the day or whatever, make sure you use a clean spoon every time, because sometimes a dirty spoon could actually kill your starter.
Oh,
so,
wow. And in the container, does that need to be completely clean?
Yes, just clean those out every time.
And every time you put a new batch in, it has to be clean.
I usually just get them out of the dishwasher.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to come over here to the mixer. And I need 1 cup of the starter. Let's see if I can keep from spilling it everywhere. Okay. And the other cup is going to go, back in the jar to go back in the refrigerator. Does it need to be any certain temperature, or does it matter? No. And that goes back in the refrigerator for your next starter. Okay, so to make the bread, we're going to start with 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and 1/2 a cup of oil. Okay, and then I'm going to need another 1.25 cups of hot water.
How did you first get acquainted with Acappella Ministries?
Jerry and I own a tire store and have for 30 years or so. So when the guys would come through our area, many a time Rhonda Colson would call and say, "Hey Jerry, we need some tires on the bus," or "We've got a flat tire somewhere," or we need a place for the guys to stay. So she would always holler at Jerry. We became good friends with her, and she would just always have the guys come by, and sometimes they'd spend the night. We'd change tires on the bus, or if they were down somewhere, he'd try to get them taken care of. He knows tire stores everywhere, so if they were down somewhere, she'd usually call him and find out who they needed to call, or somebody that could help them. So, and then it's just kind of grown from there, relationships. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a full 12 ounce. So it's really 1.25 cups, and I probably just spilled part of it, but I think that's close. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix that a little bit, and just mix that up. Once you get the water and the oil and the salt in there, then you need to be sure and add your 1 cup of starter. Okay. And then we're going to mix, and then we're going to continue to add flour. Up to 6 cups of flour is what we're going to add. And I usually put 2 cups in and let it mix for a little bit until it looks like it's mixing really well, and then I'll add the other 2 cups. And then let that mix. And then I've learned that if after those first 4, then I change the dough hook out, put the dough hook in, because it gets too thick for the beater to do it. But if I use the dough hook the whole time, it seems like it takes forever to mix it really well.
Yeah, okay, so you trade out.
I use the regular hook for 4 cups of it, and then I change it out and use...
Oh, for the other 2.
Right, the last 2, I use that.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And this is what it looks like after 4 cups, I'm sorry.
So it's starting to
get thick and
bind together.
It's warm. And then I just get all the goodie off of it, and then I change out the beater. And then add 2 more cups. Now, one of the ladies in Denver City, she likes her bread real dense. I like mine fluffy. So she mixes hers for a lot longer time, so she kind of needs it longer. So I think it's just your preference, and you could kind of start using it and figure out which one is the best for you and your family. And
that causes the gluten to react.
I guess. So the longer that you mess with it, even when you're kneading it on the baking pad, then you can knead it longer if you'd like it to be tougher and denser.
Yeah. So you make yours where it's a lot lighter.
It's pretty light. It just takes just a little bit for it to all pull away from the sides of it. I don't know if y'all need to.
Yeah, so it'll start pulling away.
Okay, then you're just gonna take your dough hook out and clean all the, as Jerry's grandmother would call it, all the goody off of it.
Tell me about your family.
Well, 3 kids, 3 grown kids, 7 grandkids, and everybody lives in Denver City, so I get to see them all.
That's a blessing.
So it's a blessing.
So you like to use these mats.
I do.
And that's helpful to figure out what size you...
Well, not necessarily. They're easy to roll on and roll your dough out and mess with. We need to put a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan. And there's not a measurement. I just kind of pour some in there. And then you just dig it all out of the bottom of the pan. And it's kind of a sticky, should be. And then I just kind of turn it over. I don't know if you can see it or not. I just kind of flip it over so that there's oil on each side of it, so that when it rises, it's not sticking to the pan so bad. And then I take this and I cover it up in a warm place with just with a towel of some sort. And it sits for 8 hours. And then it's ready for bread, which is what we have. We have one that we did earlier, and that's what it's supposed to look like. So what we're gonna do with this, I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna do 2 different things with it. I'm gonna make 1 loaf of bread, and then I'm gonna take the other and I'm gonna make a pan of cinnamon rolls, so you can see what we do for both of them. I mean, you can either make 2 pans of cinnamon rolls or 3, depending on how big you make them. Or I usually make 2 pans of bread out of one of these, and they make decent sized loaves of bread. And I always spray it good all the way around so it doesn't stick. And then I always add just a little bit of oil in the bottom to do the same thing as I did with it. You know, I'll put it in there and I'll flip it over. This is my grandkids' favorite part of making bread, is getting to stick their hands in the dough and squishing it.
Feels good.
Yes. And so when you turn it over, you can kind of see, and you just pinch it off. And I usually just try to pinch off a half of it and then put it in the dough. And this is just something you have to learn to work with it. I don't do a whole lot of kneading, like I said, because I like mine to be fluffy. I think Miss Myrna, I think she likes hers denser, and so I think she spends a lot more time actually kneading it. I work with it very little, and I don't know if that's because I'm lazy. And I'm usually in a hurry when I make it, but I just kind of work it around. I like it fluffy.
I do too.
So I work it around, and it doesn't matter what the bottom of it looks like, as long as the top of it's kind of smooth, because it's going to rise, and really the top part is the only part you're going to see. So I usually do it like that, and then I just put it in my pan and just flip it over. And that's it. Now this will have to sit for 8 hours and rise with a towel over it. So I just usually put it on the stove, because I've been working on the stove and it's warm. The cinnamon rolls, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to spray it. And you can use whatever size pan you want, depending on how big you want the cinnamon rolls. I usually use about this size pan. Sometimes I use a little bit thicker, just because I want to make the cinnamon rolls bigger. Okay, then you're just going to roll it out. Try to make a rectangular piece of dough. And And I even sometimes pull the ends in so it'll just kind of make it easier to work with. Okay. And then we're gonna, butter is the key. The more butter, the better they are. These are not for the people with heart problems. You know, between the butter and the bread and the sugar, you're not going to need to eat these probably, because I put butter on in this part of it. I'll put butter on them as soon as I get them in the pan. I get butter on them as soon as they come out of the pan. And then there's butter in the icing. So there's lots of butter. And I use the real butter and I use the salted butter. I don't know if it makes a difference, but that's what I use. Just make sure you get it all the way to the edges. And this is kind of the messy part. Okay, and then you're just going to take the sugar, and a lot of this is preferences. I try to just put a little dose of sugar all the way around, remembering that when you roll it up, there's going to already be sugar on part of it. So you don't want to get too much, but you just want to have enough for it to, but there's no exact. And then, of course, the cinnamon. And I have to remind my grandchildren when they're making them that it is cinnamon rolls, but put plenty. But don't overdo it. Just try to get it all the way around.
Now, which of your grandchildren like to make the cinnamon rolls?
They all
with you?
do.
All
they
of
all
them?
do.
Oh, that's great.
They love to come over and do that.
Are they getting pretty good at it?
They can do it by themselves.
Oh,
yes, they can do it by themselves. So it's not that.
So you start a family tradition.
Not that difficult. And Stephanie, I'm sorry, but I'm making pecan ones. Lots of pecans.
But you can make them without nuts if somebody doesn't like nuts.
Definitely without nuts.
Okay.
And the other thing is we've made this, instead of making cinnamon rolls with this bread, we've made garlic cheese bread. So you just you roll it out, put your butter on it, put some garlic in it, and then spread some of that sharp cheddar cheese on it, roll them up, and then use it for when you're making pasta or whatever, and they're really good. The other good thing about these cinnamon rolls or bread is you can freeze them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I keep them in my freezer all the time in case somebody gets sick or needs
some fundraisers.
Or even just needs, we've got a family that's sick or whatever. Okay. I make them pretty thick. I mean, these are, and I just start putting them in the pan. These are about 1 inch thick. It should make 8 to 10, depending on the size that you make them. 8 to 10 good sized cinnamon rolls. This one's going to make 9, which rounds it out good. And that's not difficult.
More butter.
More butter. The only way to do it is more butter. And I drench them. Lots of butter. You got to drench them with butter. I like to get all the sides of it with butter. And then I do this again when they come out of the oven. I drench them really good with butter before I put the icing on with butter.
That's got to be the secret to everything being better.
Well, that just makes them so moist. And then these will set for 8 hours as well.
Okay.
Bake them in the morning or whenever. And depends on when you like to bake. I mean, sometimes I'll put mine on at night and then make the dough in the morning. And depends on when you have time to mess with them. They're not difficult. They're just kind of time consuming because you have to allow for the time to do those things.
Well, and it's nice in the winter to warm up the kitchen, but in the summer you want the kitchen being heated up.
Over here as well. And we'll just cover those up with a towel. To make the icing, you're going to take about 2 cups of the powdered sugar. You're going to take a stick of butter and melt the butter first and pour the sugar in your mixer, and then you're going to just start whipping it, and then you're going to add a little bit of milk at a time until you get it to the consistency. It should be light and creamy when it's ready, but you just kind of keep that going as the they're in the oven baking. They bake about 30 minutes or so.
Do you cook it on top of the pan while you're making the icing, or do you just...
No, I fix it in the mixer.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about the icing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I just, everything is done in the mixer.
Okay.
So, but anyway, when the cinnamon rolls come out of the oven, they should be kind of a golden brown on top. You want to make sure they get good and done. If they're really big, let them cook a little bit longer, just because you don't want them doughy in the middle. But then when they come out, go ahead and put some more butter on them, slather it on really good.
Yes.
And then put your icing on. And I put my icing on when they're hot. It doesn't matter if you put it on when it's hot or if they cool off, it doesn't matter. But I like to put them on when they're hot.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Jerry is an elder in Denver City.
Right.
So in what ways do you feel that God uses your spiritual gift of hospitality at the church?
Well, I love to cook for one, but I also feel like that it's our duty to help others when we've had so many that's been sick with COVID, they can't get out. Mm-hmm. We've had families that don't go to our church, but we know of them, and we've had so many that our church has ministered to and taken food. The ladies have, gathered up, hey, you take a meal this night, you take a meal this night, or whatever, and they have said that it's the most amazing feeling that they've gotten from anyone in a long time, and that they're interested in coming to church.
Yes,
so
I can relate to that.
If it's nothing else but to show them a little bit of Jesus, then that's what we need to be using it for. And I like to do it to show my grandkids it's better to give than receive. And so when they make cinnamon rolls, they don't usually get to make money off of them. We make them, give them to somebody, but just the feeling they get when they hand deliver a pan of cinnamon rolls. They're learning that feeling of giving. So
that's great.
But the bread, now this bread, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit smaller than it normally would be, but I was in a hurry when I did this one. But you can just slice it, and it's nice and kind of fluffy. And when you get some of that butter warmed up, when it's warm, and Jerry always likes it when I mess up a pan of them. And I think he comes and does it on purpose. I think he peels a side of them off so they don't look good, so he can have that loaf of bread, and then he'll slather some butter on it. It'll be, that's his treat. But if anybody wants the recipe, they're welcome to give me a call. If I'm close enough to get them a starter that's my starter, I will definitely give them the starter and the recipe. If not, I have another recipe that's as close as I can get to it, that they can start a new starter from scratch, and it has the yeast in it and all that, and I've used it and it's done well. So,
well, I think I need to test this out.
It's not any good.
Oh, I bet. Got to put the butter on. Delicious.
Thank you.
Of things to share together. Share what we've got, 'cause we've all got a lot of love to last forever. I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the stars obey. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food. He formed the creatures with his word and then pronounced them good. Lord, how thy wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread, or gaze upon the sky, the glory.
Announcing Praise and Harmony TV. P&H TV is the inspirational way to fill your life with music videos of brand new songs of worship and hymns. P&H TV also provides masterclass education for beginners to learn fundamentals of music, as well as the quickest method to easily learn how to sing harmony, featuring hundreds of videos which isolate one harmony voice part at a time for ease of learning.
I know the Lord will find a way for me.
Hear fascinating history of classic hymns of the faith. Enjoy videos of Christian singing group Acappella, including vintage material from the vault.
We bow down and we crown you the King.
Be blessed by full-length music videos of the international ministry of the Praise and Harmony Singers. Share children's videos as well as songs for teens by Regen Harmony. Praise and Harmony TV also features documentaries of behind-the-scenes events, including a specialized podcast for song leaders.
If there were no God.
P&H TV contains resources for a wide variety of assemblies, including videos specifically designed for worship services, weddings, funerals, and special holiday events. New content will be added every month. Sign up today for the annual plan and save big money. Praise and Harmony TV is here.